On a News 11 exclusive, right now the world is under a state of panic. What can I touch? What shouldn't I touch? And the constant reminder to wash your hands. But what about those who can't hear in the news and these warnings? How are those who are deaf or hard of hearing coping during these difficult times? I took a closer look. 1.1 million. That's roughly the number of people living with a hearing loss, including those who are deaf, hard of hearing, deaf-blind, and a combination of vision and hearing difficulties in the state of Arizona. In California, that number is almost triple at 3 million. That same number struggles with sometimes limited access to information during the COVID-19 pandemic.
The concern is isolation, limited access to information in their native language, in American Sign Language, ASL, and captioning.
As the executive director for the ACDHH community, the repetitive feedback Collins has received during the pandemic is a lack of interpreters from media outlets because closed captioning doesn't always provide the news verbatim.
Some of the videos, it is not accurate captioning because it is utilizing speech recognition, which is not accurate. The technology is not there yet.
Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, as well as California Governor Gavin Newsom, have provided interpreters during their press conferences, but this has not been the case for daily task force briefings from the White House.
At the state level, you will see that the governors are including interpreters and captioning in their press conferences. So why couldn't the president do the same thing?
Locals who are hard of hearing are experiencing the same frustration.
Sometimes the closed captioning is hard to catch and get the specific information. But if you have a live interpreter there, it's easier to match what's being said.
Covering our faces with masks has become a new normal, but now also a disadvantage for the deaf community who uses lip reading as a way of communication.
The mask can't read their lip. And naturally, you want everyone to be safe. You don't want to, remove their mask. But it was hard to communicate with the medical provider or whoever they're interacting that was required to wear a mask.
With masks interfering and interpreters not available, this leaves those who are hard of hearing with uncertainty as to what's going on.
I think we've missed a lot of information, actually.
Deaf husband and wife Stephen and Lucinda Martinez say the lack of American Sign Language has especially been prevalent in Yuma.
Like in Phoenix, for example, they must have an interpreter there, always. That's the requirement. But here I kind of found out that sometimes it's allowed because it's a more rural area. So that's a big problem for us because we have a pretty big deaf community here that needs access to interpreters.
With 3 children, the couple says going to appointments for their kids can be difficult because offices don't offer assistance or video remote interpreting, which is using an interpreter remotely. And this technology could glitch or not work at all.
But VRI, the video remote interpreting, is also problematic because if the connection isn't good, then we're losing information there too, if the screen freezes or whatever happens, and sometimes there's not anybody available on VRI, and so we have to wait for hours before that can happen.
Moving forward, the ACDHH organization says they hope to create a partnership with the state and work to ensure the deaf community is receiving the appropriate information and accessibility, but they need to be offered a seat at the table in order to make that happen.
That we can do remotely to make sure the community had the right to know what's going on, just like everybody else.
We at News 11 continue to provide full closed captioning for the hearing impaired.